Hello and welcome to Real Estate Hot Topics. Lee Woodard here, and joining me again from Metfern The Professionals is Mr. Greg Ernie, our Managing Director. Greg, welcome back.
Hi, Lee.
Last month we had a great response to people who were open and interested to knowing if their property is possibly a development site or an opportunity in the future. And that sparked another question and quiz from our consumers. We have a challenge in the marketplace today, and we need your guidance on this today with what you can do in real estate. But many of our young families or young purchasers coming through are a little bit down on real estate because they think, well, I'll never get a deposit, I'll never get the stamp duty together, I'll never own a home. And as we saw that incredible increase of price in real estate in the last 5 years, which is only just starting to settle now, a lot of people think home ownership is out of reach. And what I'd like to discuss and get your advice on today is the topic of shared ownership. And shared ownership can happen in a few ways. And Greg, in other parts of Australia, depending on the community, I know when I was doing this show on the Northern Beaches, an Italian family might have 8 people buying the property. None of them are going to live in it, but it was shared ownership. And if we look at mum and dad today with 2 children, or in my case, we have 6 children, and for my wife and I, we could say, okay, you're all buying a property, and Chloe, you are the youngest daughter, and you're going to own 11% of a house. And to our next 2 children, who are a little bit older, you're going to own 20%, 23%. You're all going to have a mortgage for a property. The property's going to be rented by a tenant. None of you are allowed to live in there. And my wife and I are going to take up the final balance, but we all own this property together. It will go up in value. One day you'll sell it and you may buy something else. But this is a real live opportunity out there to stop this challenge of, I'll never get the deposit, I'll never get the stamp duty. Greg, what's involved in doing that? And is this just normal purchase?
Lee, it's a great question. And it's funny, actually, just as you were taking us through that, it made me think about how I bought my first home. And when I just finished high school, many would know locally that my father's been in real estate for 46 years. So I guess real estate's been part of our blood, so to speak. But Dad came across a property. In fact, my brother was still at high school, he was still at high school. And we ended up buying this home, the 3 of us. So Dad bought it with my brother. Basically, we had 33% shares each, if you want to call it. But it was a little fixer-upper. We bought that home. I remember I was, back in my youthful days where you're still heading out on a Saturday night with all of the mates. And I remember turning up on the Sunday to renovate it with a little bit of a sore head. But, that helped us get into the property market. And I encourage any of my clients now that I see, especially if they've got teenagers and, young adults in the family, this is a great way to be able to get them into the property market. And as I say, you just want to get on the wheel. And as prices go up, and obviously we've had a substantial increase over the last few years, at least if the market's going up, you're going to go up with it. I think where the market's at currently is an even better opportunity for families and, to help these young adults to actually break in and get into the property market.
And what a great thing for our young families that, okay, so let's go for a scenario. Mum and dad and 2 of the kids and their partners have decided we're going to go for a shared ownership. We're going to buy this little fixer-upper. And we're going to get in there and we're going to rip it apart, meaning, I don't mean structurally, but we're going to clean it out, get rid of the old carpets. We're going to get on the paintbrush. We're going to fix up all the doors and get all new lights in there. Because if we do all this together as a family, which could be a bit of a bonding moment, we're going to get a better tenant. We're going to get better rent. And, well-informed owners get great results, which is why this program is even available. But a well-presented property gets a better tenant. And what if we land a cracking tenant? It's been rented for 5 years. Suddenly the market's gone through another correctional phase and booms again. Each one of those shareholders, and that sounds like a big fancy word, but in shared ownership, we've all got a share in the mortgage. That would be a significant life-changing moment for a 18, 19, 21-year-old to go, I've got a mortgage. I can't just go out on a Saturday night. I've got to pay my bills. And I think for any parent listening to this is the exciting part of real estate that we often don't know about.
I see a lot of young people, and I was the same. I went overseas and travelled. I spent 12 months over in Canada. When I went, I was 24 at the time. By the time I'd left, I actually had a home. It was rented out, and I had a mortgage that you're talking about. So, I see a lot of people, they want to travel, and I get that. They want to go overseas. But, so many people go away, and when they leave, they've got nothing. And when they come back, they've still got nothing. And then they've got to start, and they're really on the back foot. I think for parents, if you can get your kids involved and just get them onto the owning a property, understanding what it's about. And as you say, experience, if values do go up, then at some point in time they will again, and prices go up 100 or 200,000, they're sharing in that. But what a great life lesson to teach them early and understand about property and how it works. I think you're really setting them up for success in the long term.
And that's what we call forced savings. And for a young person, they'll get used to paying that mortgage. And it's not the full mortgage. You got the rent coming in, you got your other family members servicing their loans, and suddenly we are moving in real estate. Now that is option one. It's just shared ownership, multiple people on this normal contract. That can be done today. Option two is buying property with a self-managed super fund. Now, quite often, Greg, our listeners have got quite a lot of money in super, but they don't know where it is. And a self-managed super fund is another family or property trust arrangement where today, far easier than ever before with our law changes, you're allowed 4 members of a self-managed super fund. Mum, dad, son and daughter, or husband and wife of the son and daughter. And in those 4 members, you put all your super together, you start going out and buying multiple properties. Now, the only laws here that are important to understand is in a residential home, you cannot live in it. All you can do is rent it. If it's a commercial property, you can be the tenant. But self-managed super funds, Greg, have exploded in your area.
Yeah, it's a great way, Lee. I mean, so many people have got money tied up in super, just ticking along. But, if you can, as you say, combine almost what you're talking about there, it might help you to get into whether it's a residential or commercial property and once again, experience the growth around that.
And it is completely mathematical. So if there's 4 members, and let's say I put in 100,000 and Greg, you put in 50, and our other 2 members have put in 50, it's exactly to that percentage. So if the properties are ever sold, that percentage goes back identical. And it's another great way of getting children to understand super is important today versus who cares, I'm too young, that's forever away, I'll never need to worry about that. We can invest that today, and with salary sacrifice into super, 15 cents to the dollar tax, another good way of teaching children, put more money into super because it's paying off your investment property.
Absolutely. And probably another way, Lee, too, that I'm seeing mums and dads help is by going guarantor on a loan as well. So that's not part of the super fund we were just chatting about, but another way it could be, a young couple, they may have just got engaged, just got married, they're looking to buy their first home. Mum and dad can actually go guarantor on the loan and help them actually get into the property.
Greg, great information, and I know you're going to get calls over this one, as there's a lot of people out there concerned their children are going to be living home till 37, and this is a great way, shared ownership, getting your family involved in real estate. Excellent segment. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Lee.